Welcome back, teachers. This video is going to show you how to assign decodable readers to your students. First of all, if you scroll down to the Helpful Resources section on your teacher dashboard, you'll notice that there is a PDF called Assigning Decodables How-To. This document outlines the two different ways that you can assign decodable readers to your students. The first way is to assign specific readers to your students. And the second way, on the second page, is to assign an entire phase to your students. To assign specific decodable readers to your students, use the Reading Groups feature. On the Reading Groups page, the decodable library is located underneath the leveled library on the left-hand side of the page. If you click into a phase, you can then select the plus button to add those specific books into your reading group. Keep in mind that the Reading Groups feature is a great way to put together a bespoke collection of books for your students. You might want to have some different books from different phases and different sets within each phase. A handy trick to remember is that each book which has a yellow star on it is one that I've bookmarked. So that means it comes to the top of the list automatically, which saves me from having to sift through the list and find it. Make sure to double check that your students actually have permission to see their reading group books. The way that you do this is go onto the class list page and just check the reading group permissions column. If it's on, that means that the student has permission to see those reading group books. If I go into my student login section, I can now see what that student's view looks like. There's the decodable library, there are the reading group books with those specific decodable books which I have assigned to them. If I go into the student's leveled library, those reading group books also appear at the top of the page. You'll see that this student still has access to the blue level underneath, and in their decodable library, they also still have access to phase 4. If you would like to set it up so that your student can see only these reading group books, you need to go back to the Manage Class section on the teacher dashboard. Using the Levels Access column, change this setting to Reading Group Only. Now I can see that my student can only see those specific reading group books whenever they hit the leveled library or their decodable library. The Wushka decodable library is loosely correlated to the Wushka leveled library. Now we purposely say loosely because it's obviously far more complicated than matching them up exactly one by one. Whichever level a student has access to will determine which decodable phase they can see. You can find this same chart on the Assigning Decodables How-To PDF, which is located in your Helpful Resources section. Back on my class list page, because we gave our demo student access to the reading group only, we saw before that that enabled them to see only those reading group books. Now, if I change this setting to reading level only, I can see that the level which he has access to is blue. If I have another look at my correlation chart, I can see that when the student has access to the blue level, that will correlate to phase 4 of the decodable library. So if I now go back into the student login feature, I can see that when I open up the decodable library, now this student has access to phase 4 just like we saw on the correlation chart. You'll notice that they also still have access to the reading group books, and that's because their permissions are set to on. If we'd like to change this though, we'll go back to the class list page and we'll just go ahead and turn those permissions to off. Now, when we get into the Decodable library, I can see that phase 4 is the only phase that's available to that student, and those reading group books have disappeared.